All right, here we go. It's episode 150 of the Daily Puck Drop, hashtag the DPD. We appreciate if you're watching there on YouTube. Please leave a comment, a message, like, subscribe, comment away. Also there on Apple, Spotify, wherever you find your podcast, we appreciate it. Again, all the content is up there at pucksports.com here on a Tuesday edition, June 11th, episode 150. I'm going to tell you, I'll be distracted during this Daily Puck Drop in today's show. I was having a package delivered to me from a buddy because the 10-year-old, the vampire, left his baseball glove down in Vancouver, Washington. And now we've got practice all this week and games coming up on Saturday. I'm like, hey, man, can you send it up as fast as you can? I'll pay it for it, whatever. Yeah, get it. Yeah, we'll send it up right away. Well, something was wrong with the address. So then I get a message from the UPS saying, well, it's can't read it all the way, so we can't deliver it. It's at our warehouse, wherever that warehouse is. Here, fill out your information, and then you've got to pay. This is what's holding up the delivery from UPS, or the United States Postal Service, I should say. This is what's holding up the delivery of said package. 2 cents, 2 goddamn cents. So I'm filling all this stuff up at USPS.com, fill out my information, and then it asks for a credit card. And I'm like, okay, I put in my credit card. I put it in 15 times. And it keeps saying, this card not supported. Please replace another card and try again. I have tried every single goddamn card. It's the same message every single time. Over 2 cents. Hey, USPS. What do you need 2 cents for? To redeliver the package. Just redeliver it. And now I can't, now I've got to spend all morning chasing down where this goddamn baseball glove is. That's my morning. That's my morning here on the Daily Puck Drop DPD. These are the things. I don't do well with these things because like everybody knows nowadays, you can't get anybody on a phone. No, there's no real person to talk to. I have no ability to track the damn thing. Just a shit show. Absolute shit show to start your morning. You know what wasn't a shit show last night? God, this is a great transition. Huh? This is why, folks. This is why we get paid the big bucks for transitions like this. What was not a shit show last night was the Mariners. What a great come from behind victory. I mean, God, I'm looking at that during baseball practice, and I'm like, they're down 2-0 to these guys. These guys are bums, absolute bums. And how are they not beating the crap out of them? And then it's 3-0, and it's 4-0. You're like, oh my God. Then we get the Dom Canzone home run, which, thank God for the on TV of talking over the entire home run while it was happening. I thought it was like a replay from like 2 weeks ago when I'm watching that. I'm like, is this live or what is it? We don't need her doing a stand-up right now. Can we just get to the game? And then they obviously rally. The Luke Rayleigh thing, before we get to Cal Raleigh, Luke Rayleigh's bunt in the 8th inning, that takes a lot of balls. 1, where the pitch was. 2, there's 2 outs. If you don't get it down and he bunts it right back to the pitcher, he looks like a fool. But he is so damn fast for being so big. He's incredible. It's incredible his ability to get stuff like that down. He has been, we've harped, at least I've harped on, the additions of Polanco and Garver and, Urias when he was here and all that. Luke Rayleigh's been a really good pickup, a really, really damn good pickup for this baseball team. He's been fun. He plays with a lot of energy, passion. He's fast. He's a good defender. He's got power. He's all of it. He's just like that extra player or bat that you need on your team. He is that. So it was kind of fun. It's fun to watch Luke Rayleigh play the game of baseball. So it was very cool last night. Great come from behind win. They should have had a rally against that team, but whatever they did. Cal does it again. He always feels like he comes up in just the biggest moments all the time. All the time, it looks like it's the biggest moments that he comes up in. And it was awesome. It was awesome to kind of watch. It's awesome to see him do all that stuff to go through it. And he just continues and continues to, in these big moments, have those moments. It has led to this whole other side discussion here. We'll get to Julio in a quick second, because I feel like if you say anything critical of Julio, you got an army that comes after you to say that you're wrong. And again, the numbers would back it up that he has been clutch. But I do want to touch in on the whole Julio Rodriguez and clutch factor here in a second. But Cal Raleigh, again, every time it feels like this team needs a big hit, this guy delivers. Now, maybe it's just because it's not just because he's done it. He has done it, and he continues to always do it. There is just an it factor about Cal Raleigh in big games and big moments. It's why we've said, we'll talk to Brad Adam about it today when he joins us for his show, is he's clearly not the best player on the team. Everybody knows who the best player on the team. The best player on the team is the center fielder, Julio Rodriguez. I will always contend that I just believe that the most important player on this baseball team is our guy, Cal Raleigh. I just believe he's the most important guy on the team. He's a good hitter. Batting average, I don't really care what his batting average is for him. He does a great job of managing the pitching staff. He's a great defender. And again, he just comes up in these clutch moments. And he's a team leader and a guy that you can depend on and lean on and just rally your team around. Everybody needs, that quiet, stoic leader like Cal Raleigh. And Cal Raleigh is exactly that. And whatever they need to do to get that guy signed, do whatever it takes. Please, for the love of God, whatever it takes to get Cal Raleigh signed, please do it, because he will be worth every single penny of it. The Julio Rodriguez, because before they rallied to win the game, they had their opportunities there in the 8th inning, and they're able to tie it. But they had a moment where their superstar comes up with the bases loaded and no outs, and you're saying to yourself, all right, man, this is your moment right now, right here, come through with a hit. And it's my perception. And here's the thing. Maybe I'm wrong, because the numbers, and there was a great back and forth, a bunch of people on Twitter about it, would say that I'm wrong about it. And I'll feel free to admit that I'm wrong. But it's because the numbers would say, if you look at his clutch numbers, in his career, 2 outs with runners in scoring position, 313. He's got a 900 OPS, 500 slugging. It's great. His career late and close in games, 863 with a 480 slug. His 7 through 9 innings, 438 slug. You'll take those. But why is it in my perception of Julio that he doesn't come through with these big moments? I mean, I believe it was last year. Wasn't it last year the first and only time that he's had a game-winning RBI, a game-winning hit? It just seems like to me, and I'm not the only one that feels this way, but again, maybe we are clouded with this unnecessary expectation of Julio. Maybe it's that. And maybe we're putting way too much pressure on the guy. But I do get a sense sometimes from him when he comes up in situations like he did yesterday in the 8th inning, it feels like more often than not, at least that's what my eyes are telling me, that more often than not, he doesn't come through. Then, though, as it was pointed out on X, no, look what he's been able to do this year. He's actually, in his career, he's been better. This year, within one run, he's slugging 311. His OPS is 597. In a tie game this year, he's slugging 309 with a 626 OPS. In 78 at-bats, when the team is behind, it's a 321 slugging. I think there's arguments on both sides. I will say this. For those who have the perception that I do, that, man, I don't feel like he comes through sometimes in these moments. Maybe it's not as bad as we think it is. And maybe we've put him so high on this pedestal that we want him to always come through every single time and get a hit. And maybe that's unfair. Probably is unfair to expect that from him every time. For those who will just come out and have got the pitchforks for you, if you say anything bad about him or criticize him, I think that there is room, and I think you would have to agree, I think there's room for him to grow in those moments and to be more of a better clutch hitter. Okay. I think there's moments there. And I think last night was that. I think last night was can be the up and down nature of Julio Rodriguez. 8th inning, strikes out with the bases loaded. 9th inning, again, not a power hit, okay, not a shot in the gap, but again, play that probably should have scored J.P. Crawford, but whatever, it didn't. But he does come through clutch in that situation. Single through the shortstop, through the gap there, keeps the rally alive, and then obviously Cal Raleigh delivers there. There in the clutch with the grand slam home run. Again, maybe it's not as bad as I perceive it, but I don't think it's also as great as others perceive it as well. And this comes on the heels, and I wanted to play this again because there is a perception, I think, with some Mariner fans. I'm not in this boat that he is overrated. I do not subscribe to that. To me, he is perfectly fine. I'm not trading him, not doing any of that. He's having a down year right now. Yes, there's hope that he's going to be able to turn it around. But I had mentioned yesterday of that Athletic piece that voted, anonymously all these baseball players. And Julio received one vote for being overrated. Okay, just one vote of 75 guys that they surveyed. I asked Jim Duquette yesterday, covers baseball on a national scale, MLB Network Radio, Sirius XM, his thoughts on Julio receiving that vote.
I'm a little surprised because, everybody kind of views him as a superstar player. And, you are, teams, when they go and play Seattle, he's the one they're really careful with when it comes to pitching to him because they know how good the talent is. And, he's a middle of the diamond player. So, those are tricky surveys because there's a lot of, I think, underlying jealousy in our sport. It wasn't that long ago. Bryce Harper was on the overhyped players, and he was, I thought, one of the best players in the sport, and they were still kind of saying that he was overrated. He did get like one vote, but this guy's been one of the best players in the sport for a long time, and the dollars show it, and what he's done in Philly. And generally, that's how I think we all should feel about Julio.
Again, and I'm with Jim Duquette on this one, so I'm not trying to make this a bash Julio at all. And I think there is some unfair criticism of him. I would just say that I feel at times with him that in the situations he was in the 8th inning, that he doesn't always come through. And again, maybe I've got different lenses on somehow when I watch him. But it was something that my wife turned to me and said, God, I don't know if he doesn't feel like he comes through on the on stuff like this. At that point, I'm like, hit into a double play, let's score a run. But, he ended up striking out. That takes away from what was a great comeback last night and a game in which they could not and they cannot afford to lose. They cannot at all afford to lose games like this to Chicago. Should they sweep them? Well, you're goddamn right they should sweep this team. It's bad. But and so that's why last night we've called them maddening because they are maddening. They are a roller coaster of emotion, this team. Because for 6-7 innings, 7 last night, they look offensively, they look terrible. And shout out to the Fetty kid because I thought his parents don't even recognize him. He shoved it down their throats there for the majority of the game. But they get into a team's bullpen and they create what they like to call chaos ball late and make things happen. And so it's great. It was a much needed, crazy baseball win last night there for the Mariners. Again, the Raleigh home run's great. I just love the Luke Rayleigh bunt. It's just one of the best. Just one of the best. Because the debate over bunts this year has been so much that I just love that he was able to get that down. You know what? You got to highlight also in that game is maybe future Mariner Luis Robert Jr., who had a blasted 2-run home run. Yeah, he would look good in a Mariners uniform. I know Adam Jude wrote about it today in the Seattle Times, and he makes a compelling case. And the overall, case there for Luis Robert, but Adam didn't stop short of mentioning Vlad Guerrero or Pete Alonso or anyone. The best thing I would say that came out of that piece was the best thing that came out of that piece certainly was just that you have to do something. You can't possibly not do anything, because if they pause and they just sit back and don't do anything at the trade deadline, then it's going to be the worst thing in the world for this team. Absolutely the worst thing in the world. They've got to be able to go out at the deadline and be aggressive and make a move. And whether it is a Luis Robert Jr., or do they find themselves if Toronto makes Vlad Guerrero Jr. available, or if it's Pete Alonso, if they decide, yeah, we're going to go with Pete Alonso, we'll do that. They've got to do something. This is not the year to sit back and have some type of comment at the deadline. Well, Julio's turning it around, Garver's turning around. We feel like these are acquisitions at the deadline. They can't afford to do that this year. They owe it to their fan base. We keep saying it. They owe it to the fan base to do something. But they owe it to themselves, right? The ownership owes it to themselves to go out and be aggressive. They got a good baseball team. They really do. Yes, they are chaotic. Yes, they are imperfect. Yes, they're flawed. But they keep finding ways to win. And just a little added offense would help this team immensely. The Bet M's under summer tour continues. No cover last night. That was blown away late. So our record has dropped to 18-20-1 on the season. Cool story tonight as Brian Wu goes up against Drew Thorpe. We told you about that yesterday. Teammates there at Cal Poly. Tonight's total DraftKings Sportsbook app is 7. 7 tonight. So we need to get on the Bet M's under summer tour continues. It needs to get back on the winning ways. Jim Bowden had a piece in The Athletic just talking about trades and what should happen and who's going to be active and who's going to be available. He wrote 31 things that kind of stand out to him as we are, inching closer and closer to the trade deadline. He talked about Pete Alonso. He's going to be moved. He mentioned the Astros, the Yankees, the Giants, the Cubs, Twins, and the Mariners. Possible landing spot there for Pete Alonso. Question there would be, as we just kind of touched on there with Seattle, would Jerry Dipoto and the crew pull that trade off knowing that you are just renting this guy? In all likelihood, you're getting him for 2 months, and that is it. They have never, ever they've never done this. Would this be the year they would strictly go out there for a rental player? Mentioned designated hitters that can be traded. JD Martinez would be out there, 36, 37 years of age, not really having a good year. Brent Rooker's out there for the A's. Yes, in a moment. But would the A's ever trade with Seattle? Would Seattle ever want to trade within the division? Some have always, my former partner, the go-to guy, and if he's watching or listening to this, he always hated that. Hated the fact that you can't possibly trade within the division. And I tend to agree with him. I'd kick the tires on Brent Rooker if he could. Why wouldn't you? See what you could get for him. He's had a great year there for Oakland. Just go read that piece on Adam Jude wrote about Luis Robert Jr., making the case for him, but making the case just for the Mims to do something, anything. All right, moving on. Seahawks minicamp opens up today. Everyone's going to go goo goo gaga over minicamp opening up. Hopefully we get some health updates. Where are we at with certain players? Probably not going to get much. We talked a little bit about Abe Lucas yesterday, the 2 linebackers. Will DK officially be there? He most likely will be because it's mandatory minicamp. He doesn't want to get a fine. As Cliff Averill famously once said, we're not in the business of giving money back. So I think veterans will show up. But, the storylines are probably just health and all that. There's not much else there for mandatory minicamp, just installing all the offense and the defense and where they're at. And but again, the health of Abe Lucas, health of the linebackers, and kind of where they're at right now. Again, the biggest storyline in minicamp and training camp is going to just be that offensive line, specifically on the right side. Whether or not Abe Lucas can go, Will George Fant end up having to slide in there, be the guy? Anthony Bradford's health, and when will Christian Haynes overtake Anthony Bradford, even though Bradford's not back? Over to the NBA, Dan Hurley turned down the Lakers, 6 years, $70 million. I don't understand this story one bit. I don't get it. And everyone's saying, oh, it's great for college basketball, and this is just proves that you can continue to be and stay there in college hoops. Okay, but and maybe Dan Hurley likes the whole thing that's going on with college athletics with the NIL and all that. I don't know, but to me, it would be much easier to be a head coach in the NBA and not have to deal with everything else. To me, it's either, I got a feeling it's either two things. One, hey, I just was using the Lakers to drive up a better deal. And if we'll find out here in the next 24, 48 hours, whatever, 3 days, 72 hours, that Dan Hurley has inked some long-term crazy deal with UConn. Or maybe he's got his eyes on a different job. I mean, he's an East Coast guy. All right. I don't know if he's ever lived on the West Coast, but he's an East Coast Jersey guy. Does he have his eye on the Knicks job? I don't know. Once you find out, if you're one of these teams on the East Coast and you find out that he's willing to dance in the NBA, do you start now reevaluating your head coach? Even though Thibodeau or somebody like that has had a great season? Perhaps he used the Lakers as the bait to get another team on the East Coast in the league to go after him. Maybe he truly just loves college basketball and he loves being at UConn. And sometimes maybe it's simply just that. I think the other thing could be too is, does he want to deal with LeBron? I think that has got to be one of the major factors right now. If you are any coach, look at all the coaches he has gone through. He has run through all of them. He is a fantastic basketball player. He is going to go down, and it's going to be argued until we're all dead and gone. Is he the greatest basketball player of all time, Jordan or LeBron? I mean, that's just going to go on and on and on. And you're never going to really ever change anyone's opinion on it. You're just going to have people that are Jordan guys. You're going to have people that are LeBron guys. Maybe there's somebody else that said, I don't know, a Kareem guy or a Wilt guy, whatever. You're never going to move anybody off that opinion. But the one thing I think you can say about LeBron is he has been a coach killer. He just goes through coaches left and right and guys that he is perceived to have handpicked. And there's always some type of issue with every one of these coaches. And I think Dan Hurley sat back and maybe looked at that and goes, yeah, I don't know if I want to put myself through that. Because if I go to a situation, I've got to have at some point power. And he's not going to have power there. LeBron's got power. LeBron is the guy and will always be the guy. That's why, like, the J.J. Redick thing makes sense, because he can control J.J. Redick. The guy, he does a freaking podcast with him. He's like in business with him. J.J. Redick's not going to tell him anything. J.J. Redick's not going to be open and honest. He can't be. I mean, if he does get the job, he was handpicked by him. So, fascinating story. I guess at the end of the day, it is good for college basketball because you want to see guys like Dan Hurley, remain in the game when a lot of, guys in college sports are jumping, right? We'll talk to Canzano about that today. Did it surprise him that Dan Hurley stayed there in college? I do think, though, there is some type of other end game for Dan Hurley. And I'm just real curious what that end game for Hurley is. And I've just thought about it a lot, and something tells me that he does want to get to the NBA eventually. And in fact, he's on record of saying he wants to. But what's the job? He has a job that he probably has circled in his head as a kid. Knicks, Celtics, something on the East Coast. I don't know. And that's the one he wants. Pretty rare that a basketball coach turns down the LA Lakers. Game 3 of the NBA Finals is tonight, of course, as you know. Boston is up 2-0 there. Mavericks got to get it going, and really one guy has to get it going. That would be Kyrie Irving. If he fails and struggles again like he has in Game 1 and 2, then it's going to be over, and it's a short series, and Boston will sweep the damn thing. Hey, Mike Hopkins is back. Yeah, the former Washington coach, Mike Hopkins, has agreed to become the new assistant coach for the Phoenix Suns. So shout out there to Mike Hopkins. Good guy. Good guy. Good basketball guy. It was a rough tenure there for Washington. Didn't get off to a rough tenure, but Mike Hopkins back there in basketball, new assistant coach there, there with the Phoenix Suns. Hey, what the puck, as we always wrap up the daily puck drop, the DPD, with this. U.S. Open Fantasy Golf Pool is back. All right. All you got to do, go to the website, pucksports.com. You'll see the up at pucksports.com. You will see the link right there, right in front of your eyes. Click on it. Don't click on any of the ads if they pop up, by the way. And anyone asks for your credit card, don't enter it. Click on it, and then and make a selection of your golfers. And it's all about money earned. All the golfers that you pick, it's about the money that they earn. And to do it before the tournament starts there on Thursday. I give the exact time. I think it's up there. It's got to be, I think, Thursday morning or Wednesday before midnight. The prize package for the U.S. Open Fantasy Golf Pool: first place, $150 to John Howie Steak; second place, $75 gift card to Georgetown Brewery; and third place, $50 to Flat Stick Pub. All right, that, I think, was a good show today. For all you people out there, if you're watching and listening on the Julio supporters, detractors, we're all in it together. Okay, we all want the guy to be great. All of us do. All right, doesn't need to be Team Julio or Team Anti-Julio. The Mariners back at it today, looking for that game 2 of that series against the White Sox. Coming up later today, pucksports.com, which you can find on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify, all those places. In fact, you're listening to it right now, and you know that. We've got the John Canzano Show, brought to you by Zeke's Pizza. Also, Brad Adam, brought to you by John Howie Steak. Both those episodes being released today at 1 o'clock, pucksports.com, and all the different platforms in which you can find Puck Sports. We always appreciate the support. Love the interaction. Love the feedback. Keep it coming. Love all of it. We do this show for you guys. We'll talk to you tomorrow. As always, we promise to be better.